Time being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Board of Health meeting to order. All members are present with the exception of Katie Van Ness. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. The first item on our agenda are announcements from the Health Department. I should probably retitle that now that I think of it, but I will turn it over to our health agent.
No announcements today.
Even better.
Nothing to report.
Okay. All right. Moving into our action and discussion items. First thing is a vote to approve the minutes from October 6th. Do I have any action on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 6th.
Motion to approve by Susan. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Second by Carol. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained because I wasn't here. And they are approved. Okay. This will go pretty quickly. Regarding body art regulations is the next topic. Nothing to report on that because we haven't made any movement on scheduling anything yet. So I'm going to ask that we table this. And that, Chris, can you help me work with Scott on getting something on the calendar? Because I know that the challenge is getting it with the outside the town people is also the issue.
Yeah.
So we just put that on your agenda to help make that happen. All right. Unless there's any other discussion on that, we'll move on to the thing we actually have content for, which are animal regulations. So a couple of things with that. Obviously, I was not here previous. I know there was a larger discussion about looking at Hanover. Carol did put together a very good kind of amalgam draft of things. So I think we should take some time looking at that. One thing, and Chris and I were just chatting about this downstairs briefly, about the history, just to make sure we got our facts straight. The key thing, the key reason this came up is because we were doing a capacity assessment at one point and discovered that Abington did not have stable regulations, and we were supposed to. That's a mass general law that we didn't have. So as part of the town meeting, I want to say it was 2 years ago now, that was one of the things we put on the agenda, or the warrant, and it was approved and is part of the town charter. So we have a fee to, and I should say it's stable, having a fee for stables.
Yeah.
Had needed to be in the charter. So that is now in the charter, but we have no application process or permit process in order to get a stable, but there's a fee for it. So this was supposed to fix that problem, and we haven't quite fixed that problem yet. So as we move forward in the discussion, we need to make sure that that's still the heart of what's happening because we need to reconcile that piece that we haven't reconciled. So the original draft that came through should have been about the keeping of animals for that reason, because it would solve that issue. And I think it kind of expanded into more because we got a lot of questions about chickens and exotic animals and things that kept coming up. So it's a worthwhile conversation to have. Hanover has a nice succinct draft of what they had for animal regulations. So us kind of looking to combine what we have into that is a good kind of path forward. So one of the things when we've looked at regulations lately is we've kind of not looked at authority, statement of purpose, or definitions because they tend to be the same and we copy them from different places. Unless there's a great egregious thing, we usually start with the fourth section and move on. So I suggest that tonight we start at section 4 and we kind of look at what that content is. Maybe just take it section by section if people have things to comment or suggestions, then we look at them and we can chat about them a little bit. Carol, I know you had specific things that looks like you had highlighted or underlined, so I want to give you a chance to maybe speak to those. We're not making any decisions tonight. We're not voting on anything tonight. This is purely a discussion, so we know how we're going to, as a group, move forward. So now that my long-winded soapbox moment is over, Carol, do you kind of want to take us through what's going on from the general requirements here from what you had written?
Okay, sure. Thanks for the history, because it's not really clear all the time,
Right.
trying to find
A lot of things
old
happen
documents, right?
term to term. And
So this is what I did is based on what Katie had suggested at last meeting about using Hanover's and adding some of the things from Abington that will kind of flesh out Abington-specific needs. And then as I was looking at Hanover's today, I was wondering, do we need all the things that Hanover put in? So I think what we as a group need to figure out is like what needs to stay and what needs to go. because Abington has a lot of extra stuff, and then Hanover has some things about their building and their conservation organizations in their town that any kind of application needs to be reviewed by them as well. And I wasn't sure if that's the road we were going. So there's a lot of, just little things like, like, do we want to add this back in? And, there's a definition for grandfathering, and for Hanover, they had, pre-existing conditions. And I'm not sure if we have anything on the books as a pre-existing condition. They're talking about things like fencing, corrals, barns, stables, and I guess the piece about barn and stable permits is probably going to come up as we manage this. Right?
Yeah, and actually, to your point on that, I think one of the discussions we had had previously was that anybody that had something outstanding could receive a permit with no fee, and they'd be all set. And then any subsequent renewals at that point, then that's when these things would kick in. I know one of the original conversations as well was having a very nominal fee for something like chickens would be like $5 one time. So all these things would be one-time fees, but if they were pre-existing, then they could essentially get permitted, and then they would not have to pay another fee in the future. So just kind of, again, that elaborating on what we had discussed probably a year ago at this point now.
Yeah, so, the things I highlighted were things that would change, the town of Hanover could become Abington. Sure. Voila. And then I also put in green, the things that came out of the Abington list of definitions and conditions. So there's a bunch of things that Abington had in that Hanover doesn't. One that we definitely, that Katie mentioned last week, is we have a manure management plan, but we don't have the feed management plan. It's mentioned later, but not in the definitions. So just wanted to make sure. And then Abington called it household pets, and Hanover called it domesticated animals. And so some of it is just kind of making sure that we have the definitions that we want.
Sure.
And, there's a whole bunch of stuff in Abington about livestock, and I don't know if livestock is the same as, stables and corrals and all those kinds of things versus animals like the chickens. And so is it all of them? The poultry, goats, sheep, swine, equines, camelids, and other fowl. I don't know. So that's something that we could talk about. Mm-hmm. And then Abington defines permit holders in person. And maybe if we're going to include a manure plan and a feeding plan, we should put in the pest management plan, because that's an issue that seems to come up, and perhaps it might speak to some of the issues we're having around rodents. And I think we talked about not counting your chickens before they hatch. Counting chickens, so I don't know if we need the definitions for cockerels and roosters, but they're in the Abington, but not in Hanover. And I think we have a longer definition of wild and exotic animals that cites the Mass General Laws, chapter and verse, so on. So that's as just the differences between what definitions were going to be included in Abington versus Hanover. And so you had just said that you wanted to start on section.
Yes, and actually to that too is I find a lot of the time when we're going through the regulation, if we don't know what we're going to put in it, we spend all these time on the definitions and we may not even use it. So,
right. Okay. So they can be eliminated if they're not mentioned.
Yeah. If we have something that we're not going to use, then there's no point in defining it.
And where were we at? Because we have something from Abington about numbers of chickens and what to do if your numbers get larger, which hopefully if you have a healthy flock will a little bit. So I'm not sure about that. And then there's the whole section about the permit and application. Mm-hmm. And I think, we can wordsmith that pretty easily to see what information do we really have to have from applicants. And then I think after that, a big discussion about what happens once the application comes in. Who needs to see it? Who needs to approve it? What that process is. So, so this document kind of merges the two. So my big questions were like, what is this pre-existing condition? Do we have any? Or is it vague enough to say that if somebody finds out that we do, that it's in there? And then, do we, include pieces, about getting building department or building committee, what do they call it? Building commissioner in Hanover and the conservation officer in Hanover. I'm not sure if we are thinking we should go that route. So those are kind of my questions that came up as I was comparing the two sets of regs.
So I guess a couple thoughts I had on some of the things. In terms of what actually we need on the permit, I'll leave that up to you as to what you actually need. I mean, past what we need to contact the person and what they're planning to do, which I think is outlined fine in either of them, in my opinion. I mean, that's really, I think, whatever you think you need to make that happen. I personally don't care what's there as long as it's sufficient.
Yep. I think Hanover talks about all the owners. I mean, I think that's important because if you're renting a property and you're going to put chickens in your backyard, you should have permission from the property owner.
Yeah, good point. So the permits are gonna be handled by Chris, is that correct?
That's what you pay me
Yeah.
for.
Yes, that's all of our permits are handled through the health division of the Inspectional Services Department. So those should go through there. And I mean, my personal opinion, I don't know that we need to, unless we're talking about specifics to how stables should be built, that we need to include zoning and building. Though I don't know that that was so much the intention of what we were trying to do, because it was more concerned with the cleanliness of it. So we probably don't need to go the route, because they have their own regulations of how buildings can be constructed and how far from what, and they'll need to comply with those in order to build the structure anyways. So that, I mean, we can maybe add a line in saying that it's got to comply with those, but that would be my thought process, and that kind of negates some of the extra wording too.
Yep.
On that.
And as far as conservation goes, what are anybody's thoughts on that?
You have to include them. And I think what the wording here is saying is before they make an application to the Board of Health, they have to have cleared zoning and conservation, which would be the normal
Yeah,
process.
all right, so, and I think that's sufficient. Because assuming they say it's okay to build the structure and it's, in terms of conservation, things are fine there as well, then once it gets to us in terms of, we're talking about pest management, we're talking about manure, feed, all these things that are health oriented, then I think that makes perfect sense. The only thing I think I was going to say is on pre-existing conditions. First, if we do decide to go with the definition, DPH has asked us not to use the word grandfathered as much as possible. So we're going to avoid using that word, I think. But the way that they have it versus what we have is, I don't think we've ever had a barn and stable permit as it's written in theirs. So it's got to be just kind of, if you had this structure before, we got to find a way to wordsmith that, I guess, to say, not so much if they had something, they're now this. It's if you existed or if you had a structure that was legal at one point or passed all the necessary zoning and conservation, et cetera, then we can determine whether they're fine to go or exactly what they need to do. Maybe it's a checkbox on an application permit that says they can, it was pre-existing or the date built or whatever. And we
Again,
could
as
roll
long
with that.
as it has zoning and conservation,
Say that again.
as long as it had in the past,
That would be my thought. Yeah, I think that would work well. We can,
is that
and-
right, Chris?
yeah, that,
Yeah, and if you think about the number of people that already have stables and backyard chickens in town, if you tell them that they have to change what they have and have had for 30 years,
yeah.
you guys can deal with that.
Yeah. I don't think, I'm not sure if that's the point for having
Right.
these regs, but yeah, I agree.
yeah, and I mean, right, the objective is if we have bird flu going around, how do we know who has fowl and birds and chickens and whatever to let them know? Stables, because we have a stable fee, like that's the intent. So it's not to punish people, and I think I think we've been pretty good in our conversations about that. So I think we just continue that. Question, and I'll point this Chris's way. Exotic and wild animals shall not be kept in the town of Hanover. I don't know that we had a explicit line in the old regs about that. What is your personal feeling on that? Because I know we have those residing in town. It says without, written approval of the Board of Health or its authorized agents. So
Yeah,
in theory, we could move forward doing that.
Yeah, and there are state laws regarding the keeping of wild exotic animals, so they have to be in compliance with that.
Because I guess I would almost rather see that say that it needs to be in compliance with those regulations than having to police, because that's, again, we have that in town, we know that, and that is addressed, I think, and I'm looking at you, Chris, mostly does that sound correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I don't want to add another barrier to that particular situation that I'm thinking of, but I don't think that's our biggest concern in here. It's just something we can make sound right.
Yep, and it looks like on here, it says they're allowable as long as they comply with state.
And I think $5 per day.
Oh, in the enforcement section?
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at all the highlights and kind of talking about everything, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what we had. Did we have anything in here before? Penalties.
The original one, right?
You just said shall be subject to fines. Each day the violation shall be considered a separate offense. So, but it says in accordance. Oh no, that's okay. No. Okay. Yeah, because this is just saying that in accordance with the thing that gives us the power to do our job, we're allowed to give them fines. So it doesn't say how much. I mean,
Yeah, do we need to have that in the regs, or is that something that would be written on the application, or?
well, because we have our fee schedule, but that wouldn't, it's not a fine schedule, so it wouldn't fall into that. I think it would be better to have it in here. Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
I mean, and we could make it, I guess, as low as $1 a day too, because if they've been doing it for 30 days, that's already a $30 fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how bad we want to crack down on people for something like this. Again, we're trying to be, I think, fair, but also, do our job. So maybe even $1, $2, something, reasonable. How much would we charge a restaurant for them having a violation? It's like $40 per violation or something. Or, what, I know there's different tiers to that, if you get what I'm saying. Like, what's an equal sum, I think, for an egregious event?
If it's a priority violation, it's $50, and then it's $50 every day that it continues.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. I think something between 1 and 5 is reasonable per day, in my opinion. Just talking that through, but, I'm not married to that at all. I guess
Yeah,
those are
I
kind
think
of,
keeping it low is a good idea.
I think those are all my thoughts on just kind of what the questions were there in the highlights. But other than that, I mean, this is a relatively nice, succinct document. So I don't want to try and dig too much into things. I think it's where we got into trouble in the past, is we took Foxborough to begin with, and they had like an animal equivalency table where like a certain number of chickens were equal to like a horse,
That's way complicated.
and
Math.
we tried to scale
You'll
it
be up
back.
there Counting your chickens.
The question on notifying abutters, I would just say to that, that's specific to people asking for a variance. So I think that's a reasonable request if you're asking for a variance to the current regulations, that your abutters be notified.
Yeah, I think so. Makes sense.
Well,
Yeah, we have.
Let's cover the things that I've looked at and thought about. What do you think is our next step on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're comfortable with kind of what we talked about, maybe let's make a document, and Chris, let's make a document. And pointing at you, I think, just so we have it coming from the health department, and it's one place. That is just kind of with maybe some of those adjustments, or just something that is this is one voice, a draft is the word I'm looking for. And then we go from there and we just say, hey, does this look good? See what a draft looks like without any markups. Because I think that's,
Right.
I don't want to look at it as Hanovers. I want to look at it as Abingtons. I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So we've taken what we liked, we look at those things, and we can move forward.
Right, so that whole section 1-13 on there is we wouldn't even have until we have passed it and so on.
Yeah, we probably should have some section that says the date it goes into effect and give
Right.
people time if we're gonna make pre-existing owners of stables or whatever the animal-specific regulations state in here, if they're gonna be affected by this, I wanna give them time, if they've gotta come get a permit, even if it's for $0, that they're allowed to do that. I think that's a fair amount of time. So,
It'd be interesting to talk to people over in Hanover because this was put into effect in 2009, and I wonder how it's worked for them. It might be worth finding out.
yeah, and I guarantee you, the Board of Health that's there now probably didn't vote on it. They're
Right.
completely makeup, and they probably don't really know, and it just kind of happens. So the health agent for Hanover might be a better person to talk to, just specific to how certain pieces of those work. Maybe Chris, health agent, throwing it out there as a suggestion, but so. Okay, so if we're comfortable with that, maybe that's what we do next. We'll just have a draft. Basically, Hanover plus this conversation, plus what we had before equals that. And that'll be our conversation starting for our next meeting.
Sure, I'm happy to work on that or like kind of clean up what I have.
Yeah, if I will, subcommittee of making that happen right now. There you go. Okay, any other conversation on this then, before we move on? No?
No.
All right, health agent report.
Okay, everybody should have a copy of this. Inspections since the last meeting, we've had Brothers, Spencer's Pizza, Lynch's Tavern, The Cellar, Mal's Kitchen, Walmart, and we had a pre-opening for Dom Mastro Tattoo, which is our newest body art establishment. We had 5 priority violations issued. Fines went out, the situations have been resolved, and the fines have been paid. Complaints, we had this is not the first time I've gotten this. We got a complaint about the AC at the Abington Athletic Club. Board of Health has no authority over commercial properties unless it's a public nuisance. There's no requirement for air conditioning, so that's really not enforceable from us. I'll pop in there. If it's swampy, I can talk to management, but there's really nothing for us to enforce on. 1015 rat complaint citing over on Isabel Street. That was confirmed with pictures. I did speak with the neighboring property owner, and we got some compost that was out on the ground cleaned up, and hopefully that will resolve the rat situation. Also got a complaint on the 17th, overflowing dumpster complaint on Randolph Street. I spoke with the tenant over there, and that's been rectified. Drove by this morning, and it's all cleaned up. 18th, did rat sighting on Platt Street. Thank you, Susan, for sending me that information. I got your voicemail.
Thank you.
And then just over the weekend, we got a complaint about excessive noise coming at 55 Whale Street. That's the old Polish club. I did forward that complaint to the deputy chief at the police department. It sounds like from the complainant that starting at 3 p.m. on Saturday and Sundays, they're blasting music. I don't work on Saturdays and Sundays. If it's a consistent thing, I can go out and put a sound meter. But I advise the complainant that that's a disturbing the peace call to the police if it's after hours on the weekend. In the meantime, I will reach out to the owners of the property now and see if we can have a conversation.
Is it still, I thought there's things happening in that? those
Yeah,
schools?
I believe it's a Brazilian church.
Okay, all right. I haven't seen any signage or anything, so I had no idea.
Yeah, it's,
There's been other things like that going on, yeah.
okay,
Rockland has had a lot of it too,
awesome.
and it's the same hours,
From 3 on,
yeah,
It's in the afternoon?
and on a Sunday.
yeah,
Sunday, 3 a.m.?
3 p.m.
3
Starting
p.m.
at 3 p.m. and then.
But then it goes on.
That's why I was
yeah.
even more concerned, 3 a.m.
Yeah, 3 a.m. would have been.
And noise regulations, like people get upset about noise, and usually what they're talking about is the hours, the threshold hours. But there are also decibel thresholds, but that requires continual monitoring. We have the equipment, but it's a big deal to go out and set it up and make sure you're getting accurate readings. I'm gonna
That's when you make
start.
sure the fine goes right to the health department instead of general fund.
So I'm gonna start off with having a conversation with the property owners over there and see if we can work something out. If not, then, we'll pursue that. Like I said, I did ask the complainant to call the police, because 7 PM on a Saturday, they can call the office. I'm not picking up the phone. Police will pick up, and the police are not shy about calling me. So, that's how that.
Sorry. Yeah, yeah, I'd go for like, leaf blower noise on, but that's like at 7 in the morning.
I
Just me.
have a neighbor across the street from me that sometimes plays their music so loud. I mean, and I don't have any objection to people playing music during the day, but when you get your windows closed and it sounds like it's in your living room, that could be a noise complaint. No trainings or conferences attended. Currently, 2 weeks from this week, I will be at the Mass Health Officers Association Annual Conference in Springfield for 3 days. Permits approved. I added this section for you guys just so you know what goes on in a day. So Massachusetts general law, all permits for food establishments, body art facilities, tanning facilities, septic haulers, trash haulers, etc., expire December 31st. Mass general law requires the permit application to be in 30 days prior. If it's not, the town of Abington assesses a fine, which is double the fee. I really hate charging people double the fee, so I send out notices at the beginning of October that they'll be expiring. So what's listed here is just businesses that have returned their permit applications. These are all renewals. I look through the paperwork, I update anything in the system if it's changed, then we issue the permit. So this is just giving you an idea of what's come in the last.
I was gonna say, I expect this list to be larger
It'll
as
get
it gets
larger.
closer to December 1st.
Yeah, some people are really good. As soon as they get that email from me, bam, it comes out the next day. Others I have to chase down.
So let me
Expect
make
mine last minute.
So let me make sure I'm clear on this. They expire December 31, and the application for either a new permit or renewal should come in by December 1?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and anything after that, it's double the fee. So, like I'm gonna pick on the body art establishment. It's $275 for the establishment and $125 for the artists. So if you're renewing your establishment and you have 5 artists and you miss that December 1st, that's a lot of money. So, I do try to get ahead of them.
Don't you usually I know you've sent out an email and we got that before our last meeting, but isn't there usually a hard copy, something that goes out, or did that go away?
What I've been doing to try to save costs, if I have an email address, I will just send it with
Yep.
the copy, the electronic copies.
Yep, I got that.
If I don't have an email address or it bounces back, then I send out a physical letter with the application.
Okay,
Just because it's 74 cents a
Yeah.
letter now.
yeah, well, now I know not to be looking for that, because I can just print mine out too, so.
Yeah, and if anybody needed it, just call. I'm happy to provide them. I will send out a second notice probably next week, and then after that, we send out the late notices.
That's what I probably used to getting, because it's always been around Halloween.
Yeah. Hopefully nobody's late this year, but if they are,
So November will
I have a
be,
notice for that too. The problem becomes if they haven't renewed by January 1st, then we start assessing serious fines for every day they're operating
without a
without a
license.
permit. So
Permit.
just trying to stay on top of it.
Yeah, you've got a lot of permits to take care of.
That's it from my report.
Okay. I think we have asked most of our questions, but is anything lingering? Nothing? All right. Public comment? No? Ellen? No? Okay. All right. Correspondence. Susan, I know you have some to share, so I'll let you do yours.
Okay, thank you. So I just got this today, and it's from it's not really an MRC group, but it's like an MRC group, and they're doing a tabletop talk, which is what they do is they take, and the last one I did was, it was a power outage, and then they pretend and things progress, and this is going to be in Middleborough, so it's going to be Region 5C. So their fire department and police or whoever is representing them will come to this tabletop, and you kind of role play what happens. It's like, so the problem goes on and the situation gets worse. My role in this table talk is going to be, I'm taking minutes. like Carol is. So I'm not doing anything for the town, but they have invited me to do that. But I do think that this would be a nice way for, because we talked at the last meeting about how staff has been reduced and everything, and how we're gonna have to kind of move up maybe our emergency management and get some people together. So I just thought that I'd let you guys know that I'm gonna be doing this in the next couple of weeks. And on our next meeting, which is after this, I'd like to, give you guys a little synopsis about what happened. And maybe, kind of put a little interest in some ears in the first of the year to try to maybe get some volunteers. I would have never brought this up, but this came to me today. So, and so I did give you guys all a copy of the flyer and what they're gonna be doing. I think, what are they doing? I think they're doing a weather event. So, and I'm not there to represent Abington. I'm just there because I have the credentials to satisfy what they need as somebody to take notes and pictures and all of that good stuff. So, I just thought I'd share that with you guys because it does refer, did I give you one too?
You did.
Okay, great. I just, I probably printed one out for, Katie and forgot that she wasn't coming in. But, I just thought that I would share all of this with you guys. Thank you. So,
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, we'll, and when the request comes out for agenda stuff, just throw it in, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, well, because it was just, I think I
that's-
showed you, it just came in.
Oh, no,
early
no,
this
no, that's
morning.
fine. It fit under correspondence. It was fine.
And just so the board's aware, Region 5C, it's the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Coalition. I am the representative for Abington as the health agent. I have a scheduling conflict with this particular tabletop exercise, but I'm working to try to rearrange the schedule for that. And just, I hate to be the syntax guy. Board of Health has nothing to do with emergency management. We are emergency preparedness. There's a big difference. And sometimes people get upset about that, so I just want to be clear that we're on the preparedness side, and then management is a whole nother thing, so.
And maybe the good discussion at our next meeting will be, if you have a synopsis, maybe we can talk about what preparedness things we're able to do here. This might be a good place for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just couldn't, it just fell into my lap today. I wouldn't even brought this up. I would have talked about it next year.
Yeah,
at
it's
some
cool because they
point.
haven't been able to have a tabletop in a while.
And it's so close compared to where they usually are.
Yeah.
These things are usually so far away. So I've always taken advantage of it whenever I'm there because just meeting these people that if there's an emergency situation and you're gonna see these people and they'll recognize you in a crowd. I've had it happen myself.
Well, thank you. The other thing, is there any other correspondence before I talk about next Monday?
I'll just mention, reminder to residents, our trash totes are aging, and they're starting to crack and break. So there's an online form, for a repair or replacement of broken barrels. You can also call and be willing to set you up on a schedule. I got sort of a irate call from somebody this morning because their barrel hadn't been, replaced. They put the request in 2 weeks ago. So the first time on Monday pickup, they took their barrel in. We have a very strict policy. The barrel needs to be out on the curb. If you pull it into your driveway on your personal property, we are not going and pulling it out. So I emailed them to let them know that. And then last week we had a delay in trash because of Monday holiday, and it was also raining on Tuesday. So this woman called this morning all upset that it hadn't been replaced. I would just like to remind the residents that the health department is one person now. I am doing all the trash, I am doing all the health agent, and I am doing all the directors and administrative work. So my priority is not replacing trash barrels. If there's a health emergency, there's a situation with a resident that needs assistance, or there's a food problem, that's my priority. So even if I plan on going out in an afternoon, my schedule can change at the drop of a dime. We will get to you. I keep a list of just asking for people to be patient. That's all. So that's my soapbox.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. That's very reasonable to expect. Yeah, you don't have to be on a soapbox to, to ask for that.
I will get it out as soon as I can.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
So as far as the Board of Health is concerned, next Monday, we will have a special meeting. The selectmen have scheduled it for 5 o'clock, which is a very early time
Yeah.
and doesn't work for a lot of people. I understand
It wasn't on
that.
the calendar.
No, it is a recent development. But that is for us to appoint our newest board member. We received one application, which all of you have received via email when we started this meeting. So you'll have that, one application, not a ton of time to review, which is good. That'll happen at 5 o'clock. The way it's going to work, the new town charter has worded this differently, but from what I understand, the process is still the same. Both boards are going to get together. We will hear any applicants and review applications. At that point, we'll take a vote. Since we're only voting on one, it shouldn't be a very lengthy vote. And it's the combination of both boards' votes that chooses that individual. So, 4 plus 5, 9 votes total. You need 5 votes in order for that to person be appointed. So that's how that'll happen. There was some verbiage on how the what's it called? The motion gets made and who can make it first. I know that was part of the new charter discussion. I don't know if it made it into the new charter because I can't find a copy of it anywhere. But we'll roll with the punches as that happens. Again, we have one nomination so that has been submitted, so I'm not particularly concerned with how that procedure works at this moment. So we just need to make sure at least 3 of us are there in order to hold the meeting. I can make it that day, hopefully. I know it's relatively short notice to make it happen, but we can get to that magic number 3 and get the business done. We have to make this appointment or work on the vote within 30 days of the appointment closing. I think it's of it posting, which was on the 3rd. So we kind of running out of time before we have to call another special meeting at a different time. So if we can get it done next Monday, great. Let's just make sure that can happen.
Right. I communicated with Roger Woods today, and he said 5 or 5:30 because he's expecting a very
So,
short agenda.
The town manager's office gave me the official notice to
Oh,
post
okay.
at 5 o'clock. So
All right.
that's what
I
we're
didn't
going
hear
to do.
back from the town manager.
Yeah, no, I reached out to him shortly after we spoke, and that's the response I got. So we'll post for 5. It'll probably, I think they have one agenda item previous to us, and then do our appointment, and then after that, I think they're done. So it's a very short agenda for them on Monday as well. So we'll be in and out relatively quick. It shouldn't be a painful thing. Encourage any applicants who can attend to attend, but you shouldn't be required to speak. It will probably be in that Colorado.
There's one just.
So, all right, that was.
Does the applicant need to be there?
I encourage you to be there. You don't necessarily have to be there, especially if you are the only person, but it's a good impression. I recommend it.
Okay.
They might have questions. You never
Yeah,
know.
they may, or,
Do I want to do?
All right. Any other correspondence to share? None? All right. With that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will second that. Oh, no,
I'll make a motion to
That
adjourn.
works. That's fine. All right. Susan makes a motion to adjourn, seconded by Carol. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? We're adjourned.
I meant to